what's up, you guys? Sorry, I put my hair upside down before I got a chance to fix it. Let me go ahead and fix it. I don't even know how to fix it. There we go. There we go. I did my hair. How's it going? Welcome in everybody to the channel. My name is Lulaboo. I am a cooking streamer, and today we're gonna be making some pasta. We are gonna be starting out with making some garlic knot dough. We're gonna be making Audrey Hepburn's recipe for pasta al pomodoro. It is a very easy recipe. I highly, I took a look at it, and I think it's a really great idea to do because any pasta sauce I'm always going to be like a big fan of. So I decided to pair that with some, why not, garlic knots. So the garlic knots are actually something that were invented. The garlic knots were something that were kind of made out of pizza dough. So if you actually have regular pizza dough, you can make this yourself. The recipe that I linked on there does say that as well, that you can use pizza dough, and I would recommend it if you are feeling not so confident about it. We're going to be making a yeast dough that's going to require to proof twice, which is why we're starting this first. We're going to do the yeast first. We're starting with active dry yeast because that's what I use. And that's what the recipe states that we should use, so that's what we're going to use. We're going to have to activate the yeast first in some warm water so that we know we have some nice active bubbly mixtures that are going to help us give rise to our dough. All the carbon dioxide that gets produced when yeast is out there just actively eating at your dough. But anyway, we need to measure out 3/4 of a cup of warm water, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Remember, you need it warm enough so that you can activate that yeast. And I'm actually going to do something to the yeast mixture as well that's going to help us add gasoline to the fire, if you will. The gasoline being sugar and the fire being the yeast. I'm going to go ahead and measure out 1 whole packet, because you're supposed to put in the directions always measure out 1 packet of active dry seasoning. Well, what if I have bulk, like I do here? Then what do? Well, you measure out 2 1/4 teaspoons. So we're going to go ahead. Oh, yes, we are going to measure out that 2 1/4 teaspoons, 2 1/4, I'm sorry. 2 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast. That equals the 1 packet that you can get at the grocery store. So you want to make it easy on yourself, just grab that packet from the grocery store. Should do you some good. I'm going to grab that white sugar that we have over here. But before I put in the sugar, I'm going to mix up all this active dry yeast really quick. I'm going to use a plastic fork. Plastic is best. Here we go. Metal tends to react with yeast, and wood seems to carry some bacteria sometimes in its crevices. And so I tend to lean towards using plastic products when I'm trying to mess with doing a bunch of yeast products. So I'm in here trying to get all the yeast to dissolve. Sometimes it just likes to chunk up, and that's why I have a fork, so I can just kind of like whisk it away. And so I'm going to be adding a teaspoon of white sugar to our mixture of yeast and water, so that what that sugar is going to do is just going to help kickstart our yeast propagation. What we're looking for here is we're looking for a nice foamy, very smelly, yeasty smelly mixture, so that we can make sure we're going to get a good rise out of our dough later. So this is kind of, the steps that we take to kind of set us up for success in the future. Hello, Oni. What's the matter, sweetheart? ¿Qué pasa, muchacha? What's up? I wish you could tell me what's wrong, but dogs don't talk. What's up? All right, as you can see, we're starting to get some good foaminess here. You can see that puck of foam just starting to accumulate at the top. That is a great sign. That's a sign that we're going to have nice, healthy yeast. You can see that we're getting a lot of foam here. It's coming along. I don't know if you can see it here, but there's a layer on the top that you can start seeing here, and it's definitely happening. All right, so we're going to go ahead and measure out 2 1/4 cups of flour. The directions say bread flour, but we don't need bread flour. It says if you want a crispier crust. I'm like, no, I just want garlic knots. We don't need, you know, flour. I'm trying to measure out the 2 1/4 cups to see if that actually does measure out to 300 grams. I want to see how accurate that is. So 2 cups. See, I'm already at 2 cups and I still needed to do the 1/4 cup and I'm already at 308 grams. So that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Always weigh out your measurements if you can. That's why I have a food scale. It's very useful for a myriad of things. We're going to need 1 tablespoon of olive oil and 1 teaspoon of salt. So let me go ahead and get all that together. We're going to start with the salt. So 1 teaspoon of salt and then 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And I'm going to put the olive oil into the mixture with the yeast. Oh, that's the olive oil, not the salt. Whatever. 3 of these equals 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And I'll just put a little bit more for good measure because I am weird like that. And then I'm just going to do 2 half teaspoons of salt because I'm dumb. Oh, here. We're going to move this out of the way. 1, 2. All right, so let's get all this mixed up here since we're already halfway there. Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and take everything we can, and I'm taking a nice, I'm taking said fork and I'm just trying to get all the liquid absorbed into the flour here. So I do live in a drier environment, so I might need to add some more liquid after this. That's on me. If you live in a more humid area, you might not need to add more liquid, but you know, I always have to compensate. So we're doing this here. We're trying to make sure all that liquid gets absorbed before we get to the nitty gritty, which is going to be kneading the crap out of this dough. And then I go. So it looks like most of the liquid got absorbed. It doesn't look like I'm going to need more water. So we're going to go ahead and knead the dough into a ball that's going to be able to survive outside the bowl. There it is. Alrighty. So we're going to go ahead and do ourselves the basic kneading that you're going to need for this dough. So in case you guys don't know how to knead your dough, let me show you. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our dough. I'm going to place my left hand on the bottom here, take my right hand. I'm going to pull out some of the dough, pull it over, and then I'm going to take the heel of my hand and I'm just going to push that dough and smash it together. And so it fuses. Once it does, I turn it 90 degrees, do the same thing. So that's all it is. If the dough is too sticky, add some flour. My dough is lightly sticky and I kind of want to keep it that way. All right, so this one does need flour. Put it on the table because we need it. So we're going to go in here and we're going to have to start developing the gluten strands that we need for this dough. So we're going to be kneading this dough for quite a bit of time, actually. If you have a KitchenAid mixer with a dough hook, then, you know, set that thing to like number 2 setting, to your number 2 setting, and let that thing ride out for 10 minutes while you, like, I don't know, drink a cocktail or something, drink a beer, and then it'll be done. For those of you who want to do this by hand, sit tight, guys. It's going to take a while. Okay, so definitely a smooth ball. You can definitely tell this is a nice smooth ball. I don't know why my FPS is tanking every once in a while. That's really getting on my nerves. But anyway, poke it, rises to the top. Nice. All right, cool. So we're there. So you can either use nonstick spray or olive oil or whatever. Thankfully for me, I have olive oil nonstick spray. All right. Here's my olive oil nonstick spray. And I sprayed it over the outside and the sides, but you know, it works out. Okay, so we have that. Let me get some saran wrap. Basically, plastic wrap. Okie dokie. So we're going to be using some cling wrap here. Yeah, I got some dough I got to get off my hands. And we're going to pull off ourselves nice section of plastic. Ooh, there we go. And I'm just going to have it touching, like that, like so. It's going to, rise over time, and then we're going to see it just kind of expand in the plastic. It's not going to, lightly. We'll do it lightly. It needs room to kind of expand without bunching, so I'll just put the middle. There we go. So in the oven, it's going to go ahead and expand, get hotter. Our yeast is going to get like super propagated because of it. It's going to be awesome. So that's happening. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the oven now. Our pot of water is not necessarily ready yet. So, and I like to leave the oven light on as well. That actually provides some heat, which is kind of cool. Okay, so I got to clear out our tabletop here. And we're looking for the dough to get doubled in size. So usually that can get accomplished in about 30 minutes when I use my oven proofer. Since there are people who can't, do what I'm doing, keep in mind you're going to have to make this dough in advance because the proofing is going to require you at least minimum 1 hour to 2 hours. You can split the difference and say 90 minutes, an hour and a half if you wish to check on it, but putting it under direct sunlight, as long as you cover it really, really well, you can put it under like a window with direct sunlight to the outside summer air, and that'll get a quick job done for you too as well. In fact, I would do that right now, but my dog likes to eat dough, so I'm going to clean this up. We're going to reset. We're going to get started on doing our mise en place for our pasta al pomodoro. Audrey Hepburn style. I'm very excited about this. I'm just excited because I just like to eat pasta. If you put a plate of spaghetti in front of me, that stuff is going down. It's going down my tummy. It's going down into my tummy because that's I don't know what it is about pasta. I'm not going to lie. So here is our pot of boiling water. Ooh, I did not get that ratio right on the camera there. Although you can see my feet. Hey. Okay, it's cool. So I'm going to leave that positioned a little better. Okay, so our pot of boiling water is now on a rolling boil. That thing is ready to go and is going to go into the oven. So we already have our dough down here at the bottom. I'm just going to grab the water and we're going to very carefully, since it is hot water, it's going to go right into, there it is. And I'm going to put it, I guess I can put it on the second, right there. Don't put it directly underneath the bowl where the dough is. Just kind of leave it kind of a little staggered. There we go. So don't try to open that very often. You want to keep the steam in there because you want all that moisture to stay in. It's going to keep from forming a crust on the top of your dough. So that's why we want our moisture there. We want the heat there so that we can fast forward and propagate our dough to be doubled in size faster. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and start on the next phase of our plan. We are getting started to do the pasta al pomodoro. We're doing that one now because it has a 45-minute simmer time. So I wanted to let you guys know because it's going to take 45 minutes. It's going to take a long time for the garlic knots to be made. It's going to be a long time for the pasta sauce to be made. Please keep that in mind if you want to make this recipe. It's gonna take some time. All right, so we're gonna need 2 cloves of garlic, 1 small onion, still 2 stalks of celery, 2 large cans, 28 ounces of each peeled Italian Roma tomatoes. I have a 28 and a 16. That's just gonna have to do. 1 large bunch of fresh basil, spaghetti. Okay, in a large pot. Combine onion, garlic, carrots, celery, and tomatoes. Yeah, so let's go ahead and chop it up. Take half your basil, remove the whole leaves from the stems. Should end up about half a cup of leaves. Add the basil leaves to the pot. Bring the sauce to a simmer for 45 minutes, stirring occasionally, and breaking apart the larger tomatoes as they cook. While the sauce is simmering, fill another large pot with 4. Oh, okay, that's for the pasta. After 45 minutes, or when the diced vegetables are tender, turn off the heat. Let the sauce rest for 15 minutes. Finish your pasta. Take the sauce, add salt to taste if desired. Serve pasta topped generously with sauce, grated with Parmesan Reggiano cheese, and the remaining freshly cut basil leaves. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to have to start chopping up some veg. It's our trash bowl. Our ingredient bowl ready. Okay, so keep in mind that when Audrey Hepburn wrote this recipe, the sizes of vegetables were vastly different than they are today. Today's vegetables are ginormous freaks of nature. So please keep that in mind when you're doing kind of food preparations. The sizes of things are definitely going to be a lot different. And then my garlic's over here. So obviously I don't have small onions. I have large as shit onions. So we're just going to cut a quarter of my large as holy hell onion over here. And we're going to use that sucker. And I bought a bunch of garlic earlier too. Give me a second here. I'm just trying to get... Okay, the recipe says 2 garlic cloves. I don't think so. We're going to go for like 4 or 5 because I love me garlic. I will garlic all day. So we need 2 celery stalks. I have the already cut stuff, great for snacking, they say, so I'm going to use that. And then I'm going to eat the rest of these carrot sticks with hummus during the week because that is my life now. That or peanut butter. Sugar-free, of course. Okay. Here we are. So I'm going to put in... These are really thin. Maybe we'll just do 4. So we'll just do 4 of those, and that'll equal 2 regular ones. Here we are. So there's our celery. Check. Carrots are next. Here we go. So we have the carrots and the onion, or I'm sorry, the carrots and the celery. We're going to go ahead and do the onions and the garlic next. All right, so here's our onions, garlic, celery, and carrots have all come together. We're going to go ahead and put those on the stove, and we're going to go ahead and cook that down with some olive oil. And after that, we're going to be putting in the whole can of tomatoes. Let's see here. So we also put the basil in as well. So it all just comes together. So basically the recipe says that we're just going to bring all the ingredients together into the pot all at once. Oh, just in time. Computer, stop. So the dough has definitely doubled in size. Yikes. It's actually a good thing, though. It's a good thing. So let me put this here. Excellent. Boom. So we're going to go ahead and turn on the heat. We're going to put on that 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I got the really olivey olive oil on this one, for this one specifically. So I'm going to go ahead and let this get hot. And I'm going to coat the bottom with the olive oil to minimize some stickiness on the bottom that we may have. All right, so we're going to go ahead and let that get hot. Excuse me, we're going to need pepper. I might need some onion and garlic powder, who knows. Salt. Excuse me. A good spoon, a good wooden spoon for this. I love aioli, but it has too much fat and it hates me and it splits. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. So when the oil runs very freely, like you see it here, when it runs super quickly like that and it's super less viscous, that's definitely a sign that the oil is hot enough. Don't forget, olive oil has a very low smoke point, so... Oh, I did not wait long enough. That's okay. Oh, it is simmering. Yay. Thank you so much, guys, for being here and coming in. I do appreciate it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and saute those suckers here for a second. So let's go ahead and coat all the vegetables in our fats, in our olive oil fat. Ooh, that's nice. Man, I love this camera. Way better than the other camera. So we're going to go ahead and let this all get nice and fragrant and roasted. Really want to bring out those caramelization of the onions and the carrots especially. We want that sweetness. And the tomatoes are supposed to come in here too. They're supposed to happen in there. They're supposed to come in right now, and maybe I don't want to put them right now. But, you know, I want to give the time for the... I want time for those vegetables to kind of finish cooking, or just to kind of get a little roasted, but you know, we want to follow the recipe, I guess, and just, you know, see what we come out with. But so I'm just getting my cans of tomatoes ready to go in. Like I said, I am missing 12 ounces of canned tomato, but you know what? I don't need that much pasta sauce anyway, so maybe we'll just leave it out so that I can... so that we can just have less sauce to deal with. So I'm using those San Marzano tomatoes. Yes, okay, I did it. I got those tomato cans. I want to let this kind of roast a little bit. I want caramelization to start happening here a little early. We are going to get some sweetness from the San Marzano tomatoes as well. That's going to help cut the acidity of our, you know, of our acids here, so it's not a huge issue. Ooh, that's nice. We are making pasta al pomodoro, so we're going to go ahead and add in our whole peeled Roma tomatoes, San Marzano. Alrighty, so I just want to make sure I can see you guys. I've heard canned tomatoes are better than fresh for a sauce. Your take? Absolutely. Canned is always better than fresh when you're trying to make sauce, because the proteins, I'm not gonna say proteins, but the tomatoes are kind of broken down. Look, I can like squish them and cut them apart. So we're gonna be cutting these tomatoes, whole tomatoes, apart throughout the entire time we're doing this. Ooh, that's nice. So they're basically already softened up. They come with, they come immersed in their own tomato sauce. And so we end up with a lot more liquid than if we didn't and we used fresh. I agree. Canned tomatoes are the best way to go for making a sauce. Fresh is a little, it's just not the same. I don't know how to explain it. Just fresh isn't the same. It's just a lot of give and takes with those. So the tomato is in there also with the sauce, which is important. We're gonna go ahead and let this cook down. It's gonna break apart all the tomatoes. The vegetables are gonna get all broken down. I don't yell at people, I'm just really energetic. So it says not to use, says not to put in seasonings till the end, I guess. That's fine, we can do that. Do I want to add that tomato sauce in there just to kind of keep the volume that we need for the sauce? I feel like this is enough. This stuff will reduce down. We will lose volume on this sauce. But I just don't need a lot of sauce. It's just me and Towley, so I don't want to have to make like a metric ton of tomato sauce that I'm never going to use. There we go. So I'm like crushing the tomatoes a little bit by kind of putting them off to the side. So it looks really in good shape. I will add some seasonings now just because I'm a fan of just having some kind of a seasoning in your food, even if it's not supposed to happen yet. We also need to put in our basil, so we got to do that. So I'm going to put in some salt. We don't need I know it looks like a lot, but I promise it's not a lot. Pepper. So we're going to have to go in here. We're going to do the 45-minute simmer. I'm going to close the lid on this. We're going to go ahead and move on to our garlic knot dough. Here we are. That's nice. I'm going to reduce this down. We don't need it that hot when we're doing a long simmer because we don't want to burn this puppy. So it's going to stay like that. We're going to go ahead and let it do what it needs to do. Nice. All right, let's get this all out of the way. Let's get our dough ready for our garlic knots now. I don't know, you guys. Did this turn 2 times? I don't know if this doubled in size or not. I never pay attention. You guys help me out. Did this double in size? I'm being sarcastic, by the way. So I'm going to get the pot of water boiling again. This is why I like to use a proofer, you guys. I like to make my own proof box. Got that pretty huge. Yep. So it's already deflating because we're already out of the temperatures that it's ideal to. So it's already starting to deflate, and that's totally normal. We actually have to punch it down right now. So this is why I like to make my own little makeshift proofer, because I get results like these in a very short amount of time. So I didn't have to wait the 90 minutes. I just needed to wait long enough until I was finished making the sauce. And then we can get started on doing the rest. We do need to proof this a second time though, so. Oh, it's afterwards. Okay, we're good. There is tomato sauces without peeling. You literally just simmer the tomatoes and season. Are you serious? Man, I just don't like the skin. Tomato skin is not my favorite. So I'll always go for the like skinless stuff. All right, so we're gonna go in here. We're gonna punch down that dough, get it back down to a density that's normal. It is gonna be more wobbly wobbly. That's normal too, because it's warm. Alrighty, so we're gonna cut this into quarters here. Alrighty, so I'm using my dough cutter. Boom. And boom. Alright, it's not perfect quarters, but it's good enough. Alright, let's slice the dough rectangles into strips using a sharp... No, wait, I'm sorry. Set out 2 large baking sheets and line them with a silicone liner or parchment paper, right? Working with one piece at a time, flatten into rough 4 by 5 inch rectangles. Okay. I mean, you can just use a roller for this. Why do you have to? Whatever. We're following the recipe, kids. 4 inches by 5 inches. There it is. There it is. All right, cool. Slice the dough rectangles into strips. You can use a pizza wheel. Make sure you use a cutting board. 4 long strips. Okay, so basically 1 inch long. Oh, and I need basil. Hang on. Fuck. We gotta do this quickly. We gotta rip out some basil. Add it into our sauce. Let me rinse it off. Oh, they're so tiny. They're not even formed all the way. Okay, so you can see that we are gonna have to go in here and stir this quite often. You could use a little more higher temperature, so we're gonna go in here, put in a good amount of basil. I'm gonna by the time we're done, this whole basil bunch is gonna be into the sauce, but we're only putting half of the entire bunch in here. The other half gets put in later as a finisher into our sauce. This is gonna wilt away into nothing, but at least the basil flavor will translate into the sauce. It's wilting, I'm wilting, I'm wilting. Oh, there we go. Totally forgot to add it before. All right, so we'll let that go for, oh, fuck. You guys didn't see that, did you? Fuck. I'm sorry, I didn't switch the cam over. Alrighty, so we added in the basil. You can kind of see portions of that basil coming out there. We already added in our basil. Here's our basil bunch. I just did not have the camera up when I wanted to show you, and that is my bad. That's fine. It happens. I've done it before. I've done really cool shit off camera because I forgot to switch over the scene. Alrighty, so that's done. I washed my hands. Let's go ahead and cut this into quarters. Let's go with this one. 2, 3, 4. There we are. So we have cut our we've cut one of our quarters into strips. I'm trying to make sure I don't get this to develop a skin here. Cover the remaining dough that you're not using back with that plastic wrap so that no skin gets on there. And you can kind of just let it chillax for a second. All right, what's the directions say? Cut the strips in half down the middle. You should now have 8. What? In the middle? Okay. Oh, that's not even close. Okay. So we're going to have baby knots, and then we're going to have monster knots, and that is my fault. Alrighty, set the knot down on the baking. Okay, so tie it into a knot. Okay, so snake it out, tie it into a knot. There we go. There we go. Oh no, you need to go into a... Okay. There we go. There we go. That's the better knot. So we're making our garlic knots here. Obviously my first one's pretty crappy. There we go. So I'm just gonna roll it out here. I'm gonna ride the snake. Ride the snake. And I'm gonna make a hole just big enough for the dough to get through. Don't worry about if there's a big gaping hole in the dough after you run it through, because don't worry about that. The dough's gonna rise and puff up, and that's just gonna fill up all that space. Because name translation in here is really weird. I've got a name misconception, and yeast is usually baking powder. No, you want you gotta find some active dry yeast. I hope we can translate it for you. I can't find it, but ooh man, no. Okay, so here we are trying to make knots happen. Oh my God, don't stick. There we go. Okay, good enough. Stretch it out. Bam. All right, so it says to brush these with olive oil, so we shall do so. And our water is ready to go. So I'll put the water in first. I'm going to put it on the bottom shelf this time. So I'll leave that in there so it stays trapped. Let's take a break really quick to stir this up. It's looking great. That basil's making it smell delicious. Because sometimes, you know, the stuff on the bottom can dehydrate faster than the stuff on the top. So you kind of want to make sure you go in there every once in a while and stir it up. I need my pastry brushes. I guess I'll use my silicone one. That's why I bought it. It is what it is. We're going to go ahead and do it. All right, so we're going to put some olive oil in here. And then we're going to take my basting brush because I can't find my pastry brushes. And I'm just going to... The first one's a little too heavy. So I'm trying to spread it out. So going back into the proofer, gonna proof out.